In the small, sleepy town of Eldridge, there was an antique shop known for its oddities and treasures. Among the dusty shelves and the musty smell of old books, there lay a peculiar item that caught the eye of young photographer Emily. It was an old-fashioned camera, its body covered in tarnished brass, the lens so reflective it seemed almost alive. Emily, drawn by curiosity and the promise of capturing unique photographs, bought the camera for a mere $10. The shopkeeper gave her a knowing smile as he handed it over, his eyes glinting in the dim light. "Be careful what you see through it," he whispered. At first, the camera worked like any other. Emily took pictures of the autumn leaves, the old church, and her cat, Mittens. But things began to change when she looked through the viewfinder at night. The images weren't right. People's eyes in her photographs glowed unnaturally. Animals appeared in places they shouldn't be, and sometimes there were figures in the background that she swore weren't there when she clicked the shutter. One evening, after developing a roll of film, she noticed something chilling. In every photo there was a shadow, a silhouette that was never part of the scene she had witnessed. It was always there, lurking, watching. She tried to ignore it, attributing it to some trick of the light or perhaps an issue with the camera itself. However, the eeriness escalated when she decided to photograph herself. The mirror in her room reflected her image clearly, but through the camera's lens, her reflection was different. Her eyes were hollow, her smile twisted into a grimace, and behind her stood that same dark figure, closer than ever before. Frightened, Emily tried to get rid of the camera. She locked it away in her basement, wrapped in cloth, but the images continued. Her dreams were haunted by the figure from the photos, whispering her name, asking her to look again, to see what was hidden. One night, unable to resist the pull of the camera, she retrieved it from the basement. As she looked through the lens once more, the view was not of her room but of an endless void, with figures moving within it. Her heart raced, and as she snapped one last photo, the camera hissed like it was alive, breathing out a cold breath. The next morning, she developed that final roll of film. Each photo was worse than the last, showing her descent into that void, the figure now standing beside her, its hand on her shoulder. The last picture was the most horrifying. It was of her, but she was no longer alone in the frame. She was surrounded by countless figures, all with the same hollow eyes and twisted smiles. Emily vanished that day, leaving behind her camera, now silent and cold. The shopkeeper retrieved it, placing it back on the shelf with a note that read, "For those who dare to see beyond." And so, the camera waited, its lens reflecting the light, its secrets hidden behind the click of the shutter, waiting for the next curious soul to look through its eerie, watchful eye.